This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and Bahamians. It is Thursday, I believe it's the 4th of September, and we understand that there are a number of storms out in the sea. September is going to be a hot month for the storm season. So you're going to see a lot of kicking up. Let's hope that they don't come to the Bahamas. You know, Dorian came some time ago, 6 years ago, September 1, and we certainly don't want that to happen again. Some terrible things occurred. We don't even know how many people died. I would hope that we would have records of persons in each of these settlements. So, in the event something were to happen, or people who are missing, and they haven't been found in 6 years, quite likely they would have been swept out to sea. We still don't have an accurate counting of what really went down. And you will notice with other nations, they keep an accurate account. When there's a disaster, how many injuries, how many buildings fell down, how many people were injured, how many people died, and a lot of other statistical data. We don't have that as far as Hurricane Dorian is concerned. And of course, there was aid offered to the Bahamian people. You don't know what happened to a lot of it. And there are still those who complain that they did not get any assistance for Hurricane Dorian. And it's a very, very serious matter. So let us hope we don't have an experience like that again. But you never know. September is being my birth month now. Of course, September the 18th is my birthday, so you could start sending me my presents now on the 4th day of September. All you have to do is leave your name and number with the producer, or you can call me at National Affairs 325-865 when I'm away from the studio, or you can send me an email. The State of the Nation 242 at gmail.com. Of course, I told you that we need your support and your sponsorship for the radio show and for some other things we want to do. I told you about my research team, which has to be 49 people, because Bahamians, there's tremendous information that has to be analyzed and checked out. We just can't rush with these things. When it comes to the radio, we have to be very, very careful how we say things, and we don't want to mislead anyone. There was a particular caller who called in yesterday, and he was talking about people all across from New York all the way down to Florida, and how on the coastline, those coastal areas where people are not getting sufficient food. And I asked him the source of the information. He was not able to say, I must do my research. I don't operate like that. If you call into the station and you have information that you say you've researched, but the information ought to be credible. If you tell us the source of it, well, then fine. Maybe we can do some work on it. But to just spew things out of your mouth because you may have a feeling of a particular issue, that is not a good thing. And I had spoken to the caller about this before. Do not alarm the Bahamian people. There's no food shortage here in the Bahamas. We don't know of any food shortages in the United States. I don't know of any. And Bahamians, if you know of any, you let us know. But let us know the source of the information. All information that I'm getting, them people getting big and fat. You look at these people in the Bahamas, all they're doing is eating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In fact, I had something very good to eat today. Someone brought something very nice for me today, and I really enjoyed it. Some people we got some good cooks in this country, I can tell you about a particular organization. I've been eating from them for the last 60 years. 60. And I can tell you that the food, very, very good. I always commend them for the cooking they do. I support them. And that's when you have people who could cook well. And it seems like it continues to improve and get better and better and better. in that kind of position because you were afforded the opportunity to go in and learn some things that many of us do not know. And too many of you just keep it to yourselves. You think it belongs to you personally. It has been spent, the taxpayers' money has been spent to educate you and to give you that opportunity, but you don't share it with the nation. I am appealing to people out there, people in education, people in music, people in sports, people in entertainment. You have institutional knowledge that can help these young people who want to improve, but you got to let them know the history. Now, when it comes to the Constitution, that's me. You ain't got to worry about that part. I can handle that. Now, I also understand I have to look at other laws, statute laws, regional agreements, international agreements, treaties. Same as all those things I have to study and know. So I have to examine every single thing in light of what the Constitution says. The Constitution is supreme. Article 2 says any other law, regional law, international law, U.S. law, French law, any other law, if it's inconsistent with this Constitution. You know, the government is having some arrangement with the Americans about how we handle Cuba. I don't know how they get into our business, but that's my understanding that they're having talks with the Secretary of State. Now, if the Cubans are enslaving their own people, that's their business. But the Prime Minister already said that doesn't happen in the Bahamas. So what you talking about then? What's the discussion over what? They made an arrangement with the Chinese about the specialty hospital. And it was said, I don't know how true it is, but there's been speculation. It was put out in the media that the Americans and the British were to assist us. They could donate a real hospital that could cater to all the people. But this one's supposed to be for pregnant women. Now, that's a problem. I got a problem with that. Because we got some strangers in here who crowd our clinics every single day, and they could never qualify to be citizens in this country. Their own children could not qualify to be citizens in the country. What the heck we have them here for? To do what? These are females. All they do is lay on their backsides and breed like rats. Them kind of people can't help us. They're a burden and they're a nuisance. And I hope you Bahamian men ain't fooling around with these females, man. All you're going to do is bring your nation down to the dogs. You have some people, all their culture is to do foolishness and nonsense. They can't take care of the children. Then the children grow up and become a nuisance in the country. And they're speaking a different language, Bahamians. So you don't know the heck what they're saying. And when you have other languages entering your society, be very careful. That's a recipe for disaster. You see what's happening in Ukraine now? You see that war in Ukraine? As a language war, Russian and Ukraine language. And then the man in Russia say, well, them people, they belong to me. What you talking about? And some of them feel they are loyal to Russia. Now, of course, Putin and the fellow from North Korea, they had this big showdown with ammunition and display of sophisticated weaponry. And of course, I heard some comments on that. Some of these reporters are kind of concerned. They think that China is going to be a threat to the United States of America. See, they don't know the panorama of prophecy, you know. They don't understand biblical prophecy. China is a military, they have nuclear weapons. Let's put it that way. Russia has nuclear weapons. Prophecy speaks to them too, you know. But they're going to get a surprise of their lives because there will be another power that has had far more experience than the two of them put together, who will have dominance over the world. But it certainly won't be Russia and it won't be China. I can tell you that right off the top. And the prophetic writings are right there to tell you exactly who it will be. So you ain't got to worry about Russia and China. They could bark, but they can't bite. And see, a lot of news people don't understand these things because they don't understand prophecy. So you ain't got to worry about them. Big dog, big bear, but they ain't got no bite. They may have military equipment, so what? When God tells you while they're sitting in there, bing, the eyes go out. Bing, the nostrils fall off. Bing, they become corpse right while they're sitting in their cockpit. Where do you think they're going? Nowhere. They die before they could even crank up the machine. God has ways of controlling Russia and controlling China. You're going to see that for yourself. But you have some people who get very hysterical because they don't understand how God is going to intervene in the world affairs. He's going to intervene on this side too. Don't worry about that. It's for the elect's sake those days will be cut short. We can have nuclear war. That's coming. Prophecy tells you that's going to happen. But it isn't going to happen the way these reporters are saying it's going to happen. They get all frizzy up and give out all kind of speculation and tell people all kind of different things. Oh, Mr. Trump have to do this, Mr. Trump have to do that. Trump can stay right where he is. Let him run the United States, and let's hope this particular personality we have as Prime Minister will run the Bahamas according to our Constitution. That's what he ought to be doing. Because Mr. Donald Trump has no rights in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Now, people talk about this embassy, they got it. That's just a building. I don't know, that may go in the ground to teach them a lesson. God has ways and means of interfering in the affairs of nations to accomplish his will. We have not yet achieved our objectives as a nation. That's what I think you people need to understand. 52 years have come and gone, being our 53rd year. We have not yet achieved those national objectives, but we will. We certainly will. Every single one of them. God has a place for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And if we have to slaughter some people to get them out of the way, you just find dead bodies all over the place. You just have to bury them. Or let the birds come and eat them. Or the rats come and eat them. So I don't get upset about when people be doing things. You flee or you run when none pursue you. Isn't that interesting? Nobody pursuing you, but you running. Running for what? That's how God confounds the enemy. And so the thing is, we need to put our trust in God and rely on God to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Don't rely on the United States of America. I'm not saying we don't have to be friendly with them now. That's one thing. But putting your trust in Mr. Donald Trump is not going to save the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Let me make that very clear. He could stay right there in Washington. And I understand some fellows in the United States are vexed with him because he won't get into those cities in certain states, and there's opposition to that. Now, how that works out, I'm not quite sure. I got to check the Constitution of the United States to see the kind of authority they have. See, they have a different type of government from what we have here. And if a particular personality is allowed to interfere with the authority you ought to be exercising under the Constitution, that's going to cause problems very much. Now, over here in the Bahamas, When you look at the office of Prime Minister, I've already told you, it's like a gigantic octopus that spreads its tentacles into every single area of Bahamian life, right into your bedroom. Someone got upset when I said that on air, but it's true. Right into your bedroom. You think you're comfortable there, you stay right there. Then you say, well, how did they know this? How did they know that about me? Yes, it could be found out, Bahamians. The fly is right on the wall, recording everything you do. So don't make that mistake, Bahamians. Don't make that mistake. That could be a fatal mistake for you. The fly is right on the wall, recording every single thing that you do, right in that bedroom. But you don't know. Until they open the book, say, see this? The date, time, place, everything, all recorded. Then you sink down in your chair. It's too late then. So we must exercise caution and restraint and trust God, man. Let's trust God to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Then we'll be straight. We ain't got to worry about Donald Trump. We don't have to worry about the fella in Russia and the fella in China. God will take care of all of them. Let me stop right here because I got my special guest. Yes, he's sitting very quietly. Cartwright, welcome to Global Radio 99.5 FM. This is Thursday, and we're glad to have you here on a Thursday. Welcome to Express Yourself on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM.
Well, good afternoon, Professor, and good afternoon to your Express Yourself Global 99.5 FM audience, internationally, locally. And I always tell people that I'm grateful to be given this opportunity by the Almighty. So I was listening to you, and some things were going through my mind, and I was thinking about this, and I pulled up onto my phone the Haitian Constitution, and I was looking at something that stood out, which is Section I of the Haitian Constitution, Article 40. It's called the right to information. And it stated that the state has the obligation to publicize in the oral, written, televised press, in Creole and French languages, all laws, orders, decrees, international agreements, treaties, and conventions on everything affecting the national life.
I think you better read that again.
The Haitian Constitution, Section I, the right to information, Article 40. The state, means the government, has the obligation to publicize in the oral, written, and televised press in Creole and French languages all laws. Means that the only language that the government is allowed to print anything is in those two languages, the official language of Haiti, Creole and French. But it goes on and says all laws, orders, decrees, international agreements, treaties, and conventions on everything affecting the national life. Means that the ordinary life affecting Haitians, except for information concerning national security.
Okay, all right.
And now, today, as I was sitting home and going through Facebook, and this came across, like you said, your source, and this came across Eyewitness News Bahamas today, an hour ago. Just then, the U.S. Embassy in Nassau has been designated to conduct immigrant visa service for residents of Haiti. Let me say that again. The U.S. Embassy right here, would just open up, or being just reopened, has been designated to conduct immigrant visas service for residents of Haiti. And it goes on to say, officials are advising applicants to review the embassy's website for detailed instruction, while those with scheduled appointment should contact the National Visa Center using the public inquiry form to request or confirm their date. It goes on further to say, this adjustment comes as the United States State Department continue to redistribute consular service across the region in response to Haiti's ongoing political and security crisis, which has disrupted normal embassy operations in Port-au-Prince. So what the U.S. government has done now, because this is now, I think, the largest embassy structure they have in the region, they now saying, if you are Haitian, you don't need to come now and wait your head how you're going to get into the U.S. We are now extending the service as we were in Port-au-Prince to you wherever you are. You don't need, you could apply online, just like how Bahamians apply online. Once you have that document saying that you are a Haitian resident, which means you're a citizen, because you can't get a visa without a passport. That's what I want people to understand. Nobody in Haiti can get a visa without a passport, but the U.S. government made it clear. Haitian resident means that you are a citizen. So what we've been doing here in the Bahamas, for those who've been coming here claiming they were born here or they've have ties to the Bahamas, they are not citizens according to the Haitian Constitution, because they cannot give up their status. And if they do, it has to be involuntary. Means that the state can take it away from you. There's nothing in the Haitian Constitution grants them voluntary. So no matter how they try, that particular aspect of their constitution was never repealed.
Yes.
It was carried over from 20 years, almost 30 years ago. So when you see these people now coming here, because I was told, why are we granting passports to people who cannot prove that they're Bahamians? But we keep seeing it over and over.
Yes.
So I said, I wonder if we signed some form of agreement or treaty, which we've been knowing that in this country, our government has never tell us or showed us or laid out or give us access to treaties and agreements that they have signed on to.
That's right.
And they can't tell us it's for national security, because if it's national security, then we should not have that many people who are non-Bahamians in amongst our midst.
We got too many now.
So here's what is happening. So we've been given our passports for being picked up by people who claim they're Bahamians. Now the U.S. government is saying, okay, we see your problem here in the Bahamas. We can help your problem a bit. All persons of Haitian, there's no such thing as Haitian descent, because the decree from 74 that came over into 84 and it continued never was repealed.
No.
And so it says that once you're Haitian, you're always Haitian. And they tell you, those who came in during the 60s, they never could renounce, because the government never granted them involuntary. The government never stripped them of their citizenship.
No.
So them and their offsprings
Cannot qualify.
will not, shall not, cannot qualify to be Bahamian.
That's right.
And we also noticed that when they went to school, most of those kids, when they were going to school, the day those children were born, they were entitled to have a Haitian passport.
That's right.
So that means that we allow people in this country to have two sets of passport.
That's correct.
But you as a Bahamian, if you try to have two passports, the government can take your Bahamian status away from you.
Of course they can.
But they will give someone who has no ties, no kinship
Citizenship.
to this land and give them citizenship.
Ah,
And it's so backwards.
very stupid of the
Yes.
government.
And so you see where the U.S. government is saying, so I'm saying, if the U.S. government is doing this, then we don't need to grant them anything else. Nothing. We could start recalling all Bahamian passports given to those who are non-Bahamians, especially those from Haiti, because they can use their Haitian passport to apply for a visa, go online like we do, fill out the forms, pay the application fees, and once they tell you you've been granted, you fly in with your Haitian passport into the Bahamas. You go to the American embassy. We can't stop him from going to the American embassy because they're the ones who are saying it is a legal transaction. You
Yes,
go
that's
pick
what
it
they
up,
say,
they
yeah.
stamped it in your passport, and you can enter the United States. So we don't need to give nobody our documents to get into the United States.
Okay, I hear the music from the top right, and I mean, my producer
Yes.
tell me I need to shut up. This is Professor. That's very interesting. I'm going to comment on that when we get back. This is this is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. The lines are open 326-0272-813-0271. And I think there's another line. I got to get used to that one. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break. While people are starving, while people are dying now, people are dying over there from starvation. because all they do is take the money and spend it to build arms, to build nuclear weapons. All right? Now, God has a place for them too. But the thing is that people are not able to live comfortably in those nations. We have our share of problems here, but we have a better standard of living. And no one in Bahamas starves, as far as I know. People are, they have problems with diabetes. Now, that's a problem we got to try to bring under control because we're losing too many people who are sick. And I'm concerned about that. And young people are dying. Tremendous shortage. And what's going to happen is if that trend continues to grow, it's going to have serious repercussions on the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So we got to find a way how to deal with that. But Cartwright, go ahead.
Yes, like I was saying, Professor, that with this status now with the U.S. government through their embassy, we now can sit back and say, you know what? Thoroughly check all those who applied and be given our documents to. Because here's the thing no one pays attention to. And on my way here, I spoke with one of my neighbors who was Haitian, and he said to me, so I said, the people who they say is the government of Haiti. He said, what government? I said, well, the U.S. and the rest of them. He said, but those people who they say is the government of Haiti, are those people Haitian? That's what he mean. He said, we have not had an election since 2016. Wow. That's far back.
Way back. Yeah.
So it's like, we have not elected no one.
Okay.
Because what happened was when Moisey got killed, he was in a state argument with the National Assembly pertaining to his end of term. Yes. And the problem was that he was saying because of COVID and everything else, it threw it off, and they was like, no. So he said to me, he said, well, then how do he say, well, under our law in Haiti says that the day of election, unlike the Bahamas, the day of election, once the results come in, that is the day your term starts. But it says the problem they have is that there is no government until you elect or appoint a prime minister, which only takes 1 year.
1 year?
1 year. Because the following year, the National Assembly and the Senate has to ratify your appointment. So that person does not come into office until the following year. Also, he says that the president can appoint someone to be the prime minister, but the president cannot fire him, only the National Assembly. So I said, well, how? He said, well, if you know, unlike the Americans, because he said both of us are republics, the new elected president of the United States does not take office until the following year, which is in January. And he said, this is what former President Moisey was trying to do, bring some changes to their constitution, whereby that they now be in line with other normal republics around the world, mainly the U.S. And they were having some problems bickering, and he said eventually, indirectly, it led to his death. Because he said, unlike you guys here, we have in our country, the assembly is very powerful, and you have our so-called oligarchs, or you say our very rich people. And I said, that's a question I wanted to ask you. Yeah, he said, you all have a very rich, yes. He said, we have billionaires in Haiti. I said, you do? He said, yes, we have one guy by the name of Mr. Gilbert Bijou. And I said, with all of this turmoil, where is he? He said, he's right in Haiti. I said, well, if he is in Haiti with all that money and others are in Haiti, so I said, well, only look like the poor people live in Haiti. He said, yeah. I said, well, isn't that they could go to other cities? He said, well, what is happening now in Haiti is that in most of their other cities and districts, those people who left and went to the capital, he said, you remember how you guys have here the people in the family islands, those who born in the city of Nassau? I said, yeah. He said, you know, when you go to the island people always get, oh, that's a fellow from Nassau watching. And they can't wait for you to leave. I said, yes. He said, well, that's right now happening now in the capital. Those who've left have become so much entrenched with all of the trappings of the city. People in those outer towns do not want them to come into their district to influence what they see happening in the capital. He said, that's what you see happening in the capital. They wanted to stay there. They don't want it to come to their area.
Okay.
And so he said, if you notice carefully, those who you see leaving Haiti comes from the close neighboring towns. But those who live further away from the incident, they're not even leaving. They're happy. Their life is going on. So I said, well, he said, the government which you see that was put there to run Haiti's affairs, he said, we don't vote for them. He said, the U.S. and the rest of you guys elect them. We didn't. He said, we have no agreement with them. So I said, well, what about your embassy? He said, the embassy has no power.
Okay.
Because there's no official government. So I started thinking, I said, well, hold on. So means that any agreement we sign with this de facto government, if the next president of Haiti is elected, he does not have to buy or agree to any agreement. Because why? There's no General Assembly in Haiti. There's no Senate. They are the people who controls and governs their constitution.
Right.
So if you have a group of Haitian business people or parties who live it outside the country and now come back into the country and was never had an election, never was elected by the voters, then whatever agreement they do now and then signing off on, at the end of the day, the new government, whoever gets elected, do not have to honor those agreements because it doesn't wait the papers wait on.
Okay.
Because they was never elected. It's like our prime minister right now. If he is voted out and he goes after voted out and says, signing documents and saying, yes, I'm the prime minister of the Bahamas and I'm signing agreements for the Bahamas, that is null and void because he's not the authority.
Yes.
Never elected. And that's the good thing about the system we have here. For you to orchestrate and manage the affairs of the country, you must be elected. Mr. Trump could not handle the American affairs, even though he had won the election until when? After he was inaugurated, which was in January. So up until President Biden turned the gavel over to him, even though the election was held in November and they knew the results, he had no power until January. So this is how you have to look at things. And so I was like, what are we doing? What is our structure with Haiti? We need to know what all agreements. We keep hearing, oh, well, we keep having people coming in from Haiti. Well, I would say this now. If these people are coming here to go to the embassy, then they need to bring proof that they did their online stuff with the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And we give them a time frame. Find out from the U.S. embassy, how long will it take to get these people in their documents and visas?
Yeah.
And if they tell them, you said, okay, you know what? We will now let them go back to their country. And when you have it, you send it to them and they just come in, they stamp it, and they return. We don't need to have them hanging around here.
No, we don't.
Waiting for you to give them their visas.
Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. I would agree with that. Because they have been a burden on the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. They could never be citizens of this country. We already know that. Their constitution, their presidential decree, their high court, the Supreme Court of Haiti, and also the Parliament of Haiti. All of them say no. They have to remain Haitian. Our constitution says if you don't renounce, you cannot be considered to be a citizen of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I believe you have a call on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Professor,
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Cartwright.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
Just
afternoon.
one question for you. Is there a Haitian embassy in the Dominican Republic?
Brother
Sorry,
Cartwright,
is there a
you know that.
U.S. embassy?
No,
And
no, the U.S. embassy was in Port-au-Prince, and
okay,
once they had that turmoil,
okay,
the embassy here took over their most of the businesses for the U.S. embassy out of Port-au-Prince, and that was one of the main reasons why they said that the residents of Haiti, meaning the citizens of Haiti, because of the political instability and the turmoil, the embassy here now, you can go just like how Bahamians can go online and fill out for their visas.
right,
They could use that because the only way you can be able to fill out for a visa is that you have a passport.
right. Understand that. So, where is the closest embassy to Haiti? The Bahamas is the closest one?
The Bahamas.
Oh,
And that's why, if you notice carefully, like I said, this was read by me from the Eyewitness News,
yeah,
and
I
that's
saw
something.
it on. I saw it there. I
And so,
saw it.
what I'm saying, what I'm telling people is this: the U.S. government, State Department, made that declaration. Means that the president, the State Department, the Congressman, so we're gonna open up. When we open up this embassy here, because what's happening in Haiti, we decide this is the spot where they can come and apply online, then come here with their passport, because the US has to stamp that into your passport.
Right.
So you're gonna fly. Now I'm saying to the Bahamas government, all the while we've been saying that these people have Bahamian passports and or whatever.
Yeah.
From the day they were born here and when they were born, and if you look at some of the passports that they were given, I've seen one which by accident. And how I saw it was that I was in some place and the person dropped it.
Yes.
And I picked it up and I look at it and I look at it and they reach out, so I hand it back to them. And I say, okay. They said, thanks. But then it hit me and it's like, when they said nationality or where you're born, if you look at your passport, it says Bahamian.
Right.
They said Haitian, but then they was like, Haitian, and you got a Bahamian passport. I just said, hold on, it's me right here.
Oh
But
wow.
I was like, so that tells me that you never give up. And this is something I try to tell people. If you understand the Haitian, and I would say this to the embassy, I would say this to any person of Haitian nationality. There's no such thing as a Haitian descent, because once your parents, grandparents were born in Haiti and they can only do involuntary, means that only the government can deny you citizenship. There's no such thing like how we could go around the world and say, I don't want to be a Bahamian. They don't have that privilege. So
Okay,
that,
so one question before I hang up, Mr. Cartwright.
yes, ma'am.
What is the urgency for this embassy here in the Bahamas if there are no flights going into Haiti from the United States?
Now that's the trick.
So why do they need a visa when America is not servicing in that country?
Well, here's the thing no one pays attention to. For you to get an American visa and it's the embassy here, where do you have to come? The Bahamas. So means
Right,
that if you come here to the Bahamas and you got a visa and you've got your Haitian passport and you've got the American visa and your Haitian passport, what is stopping you from leaving the Bahamas to go to Haiti, to the US?
oh wow. Okay, all
Nothing.
right. I don't know what they're doing,
We
but
become we are
we
now
have a
becoming a connecting flight. That's all it is.
we have a hurricane pending, and I hope they have all the shelters and stuff ready because that is going to be another issue. So I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I always say
But
to people,
anyway,
yes, but I would say this
okay,
to you,
thank
right?
you.
Yes, I would say this to
Okay,
Bahamians over and over.
Thank you for your call, man.
Yes, the government of the Bahamas must understand and take this thing seriously. The Bahamas, since time memorial, going back to 1492, these archipelago chain of islands were always sitting in the hurricane belt. So we should have now, 52 years later, set up a proper distribution whereby that funding, if we have hurricanes, because the one good thing God bless us with, He didn't make us one landmass.
That's right.
So when you see a hurricane, we should have now had some financial structure that, listen, if a hurricane was to hit, couple of our islands. We should already be in preparations where we have proper hurricane shelters and financing where we could get those citizens in those islands back up and running onto their feet.
That's right.
Because when hurricanes come, and we've seen it, we've never had a hurricane that I know of cover the whole Bahamas. We'd always cover of certain islands, and then we'll move, and then you see the next islands. But we've never sat down, and it's high time, with all this modern technology, that we should now have a structure where it's basically a financial structure. Because when you tell someone who lost their home that, oh, well, you could go to social service, what can social service provide you? A couple dollars? That's not going to give that person no hope to rebuild. But if we have all of these natural resources, why not monetize some of these natural resources and take out an equity and invest that money so you can have a funding just for hurricane? And if it doesn't happen, just keep turning the money over. Reinvest that fund, that we will always have money there to take care of our citizens. That's what a good government do. And I would say this to any political machinery out there. If you want to be the next governor of this Bahamas, and you're looking to come to me and ask me what I want, these are the things that I want to see happen. I want us to have now, we should have now already had a national disaster fund set aside a little while now.
Yes.
To take care of these ills that face our people. We have things about this country where I was talking with someone the other day, and they said to me, well, you know, I hear the minister talk bragging, but they building homes. I said, well, that's good. He said, you know, Mr. Bain talks about an acre of land. I said, that's good. He said, Dr. Minister, I said, okay. I said, listen to what I'm about to say. And I said, it's going to shock everyone. He said, what you said? I said, all three of them are right. I said, why can't we build a gated community, take that gated community with 1 acre that Mr. Bain is proposing. You build roughly 25 homes in that gated community. You take the idea of Dr. Minnis, you provide for the infrastructure. And they pay that $20,000. That goes towards the infrastructure. And you take the Minister of Housing idea, Mr. Bell. You build that home. But you build that home with a certain design. And I said, here's how you're going to now empower your people. That is going to be a new trend of building homes in the country. But what you would do is that you give them a design for the home, and you also build, the design would come with a rented structure attached. You go through the mortgage department, you go through the Bahamian banks. But if you fall down and not paying the loan, paying the mortgage on that home, whatever you paid, and you can't afford to pay no more, the government or the mortgage corporation would be allowed to buy that home back from you and allow some other individual to purchase it. So they'll never have to worry about the bank seizing it.
Yes.
They would be first preference to allow, or like you say, raffle it to someone else in the community.
Right.
And I said, guess what will happen? You will now have many people in your inner cities moving into those areas, but here's what you do with those properties that have now become so-called vacant. You could now restrict those properties for such as things as in the inner city as garages for persons who want to set up their car garages. You could move them from side streets onto proper properties. You could start to build homeless structures, apartments for those. We see we now having a great deal of homelessness in the inner city.
That's correct.
Then you can still turn around and build accommodations for those who come here on work permits and they're looking for places to stay that the state can make money off. So you see, you're doing 4 different things with 3 different ideas that you combine. These are the things that I tell people, that when you hear people coming around and this is what you want to see happen. And I told, when I said it to me, he's like, man, I didn't see it that way. I said, you get your acre land. That acre land is built into a gated community with the infrastructure. The housing is built, and you pay 20 grand because that will go towards the infrastructure. And I said, you will now start to change that new ideology of building the Bahamas, and I said, and you can do it, start in New Providence. And by the time you basically pick your areas and you start to rebuild the city, the island of New Providence, that template you can now use throughout the whole Bahamas. So now there'll be no citizen saying, well, look here, man, I have, I know have a home and now I could buy I could get me an acre of land with the plans for the structure, go to the bank, and I go and pay through the mortgage. I'm going to the mortgage corporation, or go to the bank or through the mortgage, and I can now pay the mortgage corporation, show to the bank this land I own, and I can get a loan to finish up.
Yes. That's an excellent idea.
And so this is why I keep saying to people that we keep hearing it's like the dog chasing the tail.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, we want to move this country to the next level. Come up with these new ideas. Take the old, but you create the new.
Yes.
You built on it. You know, when you look at all of these government subdivision, one of the dangerous and most drawback, and it hurt me so much when you go into it, when they firstly built, oh, they look excellent and beautiful. When you ride into those areas 2-3 years down the road, you see a bunch of old cars outside the door. You see all kind of trash all over the place. The area don't have proper parks, don't have proper recreational setting.
None.
How do you expect to build human integrity within themselves if you don't take that time to build? You know, the late W.H.W. Brown said, let's build the whole man.
Yes, I remember this program.
And it was not only spiritual, but physical.
Physical, yeah.
So if you now take the idea that the late Sir Lyndon talked about, when he came to power, we only had two sets of people in this country. Either you're rich or you're poor. But he instructed, and you know, because oh, he's socialist, I said, but that's okay. But he input and instituted a middle class that was carrying the load of this country for almost 30 years. And if you look at it now, the middle class is shrinking so much. And I always say to Bayman, you do not want your country to go back into the ages of where it's only rich and poor. You'll cause turmoil in your country. You don't need that.
No, you don't.
So you need that buffer. For you to come up right now in global radio station, you can't jump up from the ground straight upstairs. You need a stairway.
That's
That
right.
stairway is the buffer for you to get upstairs. That's
correct.
how you build your country. So you need a middle class. Without that, your country suffers. So all of these things that when I hear them on the campaign trail, this one talk, but I told her all of that. And I said to someone yesterday, I said, I'm waiting for all the candidates who probably might run in my constituency where I live. I put those same things I'm saying now to them. And if you don't make sense to me, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear what the party said. I want to hear how you gonna fight to get things done for me.
Okay.
Yes,
I believe I
That's
have
the
music
jingle.
in the background. Yeah.
I've been moving so fast.
Well, I had to let you have your say. I have my say when I get back. This is Professor Sidney McArdle Walter Thompson, but the Cartwright has some excellent ideas, and I'll speak to those potential candidates out there when I get back. This is Professor Sidney McArdle Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. The lines are open 326-0272-813-0271. We want you to call and express yourself. We want you to come up with creative ideas, Bahamians. We don't want to keep staying where we are now. This is not good at all. We can build on what has happened in the past. Yes, you got young people with tremendous ideas and suggestions and comments and so on. Let's work with it. And plus, they're very talented and very gifted. This is Professor Sidney McArdle Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break. the cart right before we went to the break. He was talking about situations, what we can do to improve the quality of life in the Commonwealth of Bahamas by taking the different constructive ideas from different personalities in order to build the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. No one has a monopoly on ideas. And unfortunately, over the last 52 years, we have had successive administrations come to power and authority in the country. But basically, what we have been doing is what a former administration may have set up. We end up riddling it to the ground, starting all over again. And that creates a problem. I believe my producer has a tape. And this tape, I believe, is going to be from Dr. Minnis. And listen carefully. See, Bahamians, you got to learn to listen carefully to what the man is saying. And when the opportunity presents itself for you, you should take advantage of the opportunity. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
Several concerns. One, has the government agreed to let the nations to interview for U.S. status? Two, if so, how many will be allowed in per year? How long will Haitians be allowed to stay in the Bahamas while they await their status? How will the government monitor these Haitians? This is very concerning to us because there's a possibility that hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals can travel via Bahamas Air or other airlines to New Providence, to the U.S. Embassy for their visa interviews, etc. The Bahamas Immigration Department has already been embroiled and involved in corruption scandal, and will this further enhance corruption? And if many of these individuals remain within the Bahamian jurisdiction because of poor enforcement and not being able to find where they are located, then that would place additional stress and strain on our public services, health, education, social services. And we want the government to answer those questions.
Yes, Dr. Minnis brought up some very interesting questions, and I think the government has a responsibility to answer. They're not answering now about these flights that are coming in 3 times, 4 times a week from Haiti. How long do those people stay here? Now you have the U.S. Embassy using the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for their own selfish purposes. And here is the government of the Bahamas just sitting by, and Dr. Minnis asked some very, very important questions, Bahamians. Because right now, the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas has not yet said anything about the massive influx of Haitians. We have had no deportations in this country. We've had no arrests of thousands of illegal immigrants in this country. They say they got 150 in the detention center. See how much they sent over the last 4 years. Nothing compared to what we have now. We got Haitians and other foreign nationals all over the place. You got some just caught the other day sneaking out of the Bahamas trying to get to the United States, and they dropped them right in the Bahamas and took the smugglers who were smuggling the people up. They arrested them in the United States and carried them over there. You see how they operate? The point is, these people were on their way to the United States of America illegally, and they send them right back here. Now, how are we going to handle these visa applications? What does the government of the Bahamas have to say about it? Because we are doing a poor job right now with corruptible practices being done by unscrupulous individuals. Even the government itself, using the Bahamas Nationality Act, which is a piece of fraudulent document, which offers nothing to those particular people. Now the U.S. Embassy has put another burden on us. They're using the Bahamians for their own purposes. Now, how long will they be allowed to stay here? When are they going to be allowed? How many, as Dr. Minnis asked, how many would be allowed to come in? It seems like every time you turn around, there's another problem coming from another angle. And yet, the people who run this place don't seem to have any answers for the Bahamian people. But yet they say they want to run things. Say they want another time. And here we are, every time you look around, there's another problem after problem after problem. That's the weakness of the Bahamas government. Because they are the ones who are supposed to look out for the interests of the Bahamian people. And some of y'all want to get vexed with us who bring the information to you instead of getting vexed with the people you gave the flipping power to run this place. Go and get vexed with them because they're the ones who are messing up the country, not us who report on what they're doing. How the hell you could get vexed with us? And some of you are so tight-lipped, some of you in the media are talking foolishness and nonsense. We have all kinds of problems, and you ain't seen nothing yet. Just wait till some other things come to the fore. Bahamians, we're going to need the divine intervention of God, and I'm going to tell you that again as often as I possibly can, because Bahamians, we seem to be heading for more and more and more trouble. All the United States is doing, using us. Are we going to permit this crap to go on also from the Americans? Huh? Using us as a stepping stone? You got this embassy right here on Shirley Street. Is the Bahamas government going to just go right along with what they want to do? This is a sovereign, independent state. Are we becoming a county of Florida? Is that what the Bahamas are supposed to be now? That means you need to ask yourself these questions. What is the role of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Because as far as this influx of strength, listen, we got all kinds of people talking about they want to be citizens in this place. People from Nigeria, people from Afghanistan, people from Haiti, people from all over the place say they want to be naturalized. Famous, what are we doing? What is the immigration ministry doing? What is the immigration department doing? They can't even handle what they got now. We don't know how many citizens have been added illegally, because there ain't no citizens in the first place. And the government is the culprit. The biggest culprit of adding illegals to the citizenry of this country is the government. They've been doing it for the last 52 years by way of the Bahamas Nationality Act. That's how they've been doing it. It's a fraudulent piece of document which they've been using. We have to face the harsh reality. Now this crew about people wanting to apply for visa to go to the United States, didn't they stop all the flights into the United States? What the heck are they talking about now? Brother Cartwright, go ahead.
Professor, you said something there, and I don't think most Bahamians understand that. The government of the Bahamas is the Citizenship Board.
That's
the
right.
cabinet.
The cabinet.
So anyone who gets citizenship has to be approved by the cabinet of the Bahamas. Only the cabinet can grant, only the cabinet can deny.
That's right.
Now, if they follow the Constitution, it gives them a lot of power.
Yes.
But I listened to that tape there, played by the producer with the former Prime Minister's accent.
Yes.
And I said, that's strange. How is it that he is the first one to speak? What has happened to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who loves to...
Or he likes to run his mouth.
What happened to the prime minister? What happened to the minister of national security? What happened to the minister of immigration?
Yes.
What happened to the leader
Minute-
of the official opposition?
What had happened to the Minister of National Security?
Yeah.
Where is he?
And see, these things, all of these things, and he brought up these are very valid points.
Yes,
I
he
hope
did.
Amos can understand this. How long these people are going to be here? Because once they got to come for an interview.
Right.
So are we going to allow them to stay here until after the interview? How long it will we allow them to be in the country for while they're waiting for other stuff to happen? And so these are things, like you said, if they're here, and then also you ask, what agreement?
What agreement? Yes.
See, the U.S. is very peculiar in how they handle their business. You don't come into their country as you feel. So what they're doing now is that we become the conduit for them.
We become the stepping stone.
So what they're saying, okay, you want to come here? Okay, apply. Go online. You go online. Now, when you come here, see, they're only waiting for you to come to do an interview. And then they let you know when your interview is over, when you got to come back to pick up your visa.
Yes.
Because it's not done the same day. Now, if they stay in the Bahamas, that's no concern of the U.S. If they overstay in the Bahamas, that's still no concern of the, because they are not violating any law of the U.S. None. So the Bahamas government has to now take a serious action and say, listen, I appreciate you guys trying to help them fellas down in Haiti, but are you going to let them stay in your embassy while they're waiting to get their documents? Okay. If not, we will only allow X amount at a certain time. And once that interview, you will have to let us know how many interviews you can do a day. And we will basically grant, say, for 3 days, you have that amount to come in and do the interview. And once those 3 days up, we will have our people checking to see when they leave. And if they don't leave, means that they're in violation of our law. And if they're in violation of our law, they cannot enter our country. Now, how they get the visa?
That's up to them.
That's up to them.
See,
Because
this is why I said I listened carefully to what was said. The United States is using the Bahamas. They're not having the best interest of the Bahamas with this kind of maneuvering they're trying to do. You got to see straight through what it is they're doing.
I would also say too, Professor, that
Yes.
the government of the Bahamas, and I would hope all members of parliament would not be complicit, because this is a very serious matter
It's extremely serious
That-
and dangerous.
the former prime minister has brought up.
Yes.
And I would hope that the parliament on the whole rally around this and say, no, we can get some answers.
Yes.
And then say, this is what we can afford, what we can help you with.
Right.
We now take the proactive move and say, this is what we can do. And the parliament, and whatever our parliament agrees to do, it must be in line with our
It
constitution.
has to be in line with the Constitution.
And it must be where the Bahamian people agree to it.
Exactly.
You cannot go and sign off on something that the Bahamian people don't agree to it. Because now, this year is going to be a major highlight for someone like me now. If you come into campaign, I can be watching this.
Oh, yeah, this is very important.
This year is now just because you are now allowing someone to sound like you're trying to allow people to usurp my sovereignty.
Well,
Yeah.
That's what it appears to be.
So I appreciate Dr. Minnis bringing this to the forefront, but I would hope I would hear more members of the parliament and those aspiring to be in the parliament speak to it.
Yes.
But you know, Professor, I see where on Facebook, some people made some comments.
Yes.
I see a Miss Sandra Carey saying Bahamians are not getting this, true, getting this though. D'Amico Bain saying social service taking care of foreigners, only crumbs left for the Bahamians. Rose Blossom saying that the U.S. said that they're not accepting nations, so why they need them to come here? And she said to Sandra, listen, most of those Haitians will stay in the Bahamas. Sandra Scary replied to her, I know. And it seems like they're saying if the U.S. government will not give most of them visas, then Veronica Ward said the people need to go in front of the embassy and protest. And the people are left on their own. On top of that, Rose Blossom said, a Bahamas sailor will come in tomorrow, full flight. Sandra Kerry said, we know our government loving this because they have been doing it already. They don't have to answer the Bahamian people because the Bahamians keep voting for the same parties who's doing this to us. Rose Blossom said, can't blame the U.S. government. The world knows that the Bahamas is a Haitian nation. Sandra Kerry, I'll speak to that, Rose Blossom. Sandra Kerry said, and the government giving all citizenship, the Bahamas free to all except Bahamians. Rose Blossom said, Haitian flight came in a few minutes ago from Haiti. They looking lost, can't speak a lick of English. Sandra Kerry saying the only time, let me read this again. Yeah, the only time they need is for the interview. And after that visa is sent back to you, that could be sent back to Haiti. Sandra Kerry said always. But if you get a visa from the U.S., that passport will then be downloaded into their system using biometrics. So even if you try to in Haiti to switch that passport on to someone else, the U.S. has been done this biometrics for a little while now. So they will have that more finalized because it takes almost 3 years to I was looking at it and I spoke to someone, he said it takes almost 3 years. And the thing is, what we got to understand that, and they said, when you're dealing with your voting populace with this biometric system, you got to be careful because if you mess it up, your whole electoral integrity
It's called into question.
will always be called into question.
Yes.
And we said that we have not had any question.
We've not had that before.
So, and the guy said to me, he said, listen, and I told a friend of mine, because I have friends and family in the U.S., and they said, no. I said, well, how long you all had biometrics? He said, because we've had biometrics almost 20 plus years, almost 30 years. That's how long we had to take our time and then implement it. I said, well, we're trying to do it right before the election. He said, because it can't work. I said, don't care what they tell you, it can't work. Because what you have to do with your voting block, you're going to have to now repeal that act that Dr. Menace had in place, whereby that you're still on the voters registry and you keep the voters card. No, because everyone going to have to be done, put into the system. And so all of that, then you got to test it. Then you ain't got no proof that the people that are in the system are true citizens.
That's correct.
So it's a lot of things
that's going to be a
you
problem.
have to do with this system.
Yes.
He said, if they were, he said, if the government was serious about it, he said, they should have done it when they first came into office. Because you would have time to take your time, go over it, test it, and then you would then educate your people with the system. But with the election around the corner, it is very hard because people are now worrying about little things for themselves. Like right now, people are worrying about putting their kids in school.
Of course.
And you coming around there and say, oh, well, we got this new system.
No, they're interested in that.
No. So it is
It's
unprofessional.
extremely inconvenient for the Bahamian people.
And it is a very, very, very short time to do something that is so magnanimous.
Yes, it is.
To talk about changing the electoral system. You could follow them in what they do in the U.S., but the U.S. has been doing elections longer than us.
Yeah, they have.
When they make their adjustments, it takes them 2 to 3, 4 elections before they move away from an old system.
Yes.
And so I would say that it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix
Now
it.
you can modify it, yes, but do it the right way. And so with this thing now with the U.S. Embassy, see the people
That even adds more problems.
It brings more strain on
more
us
strain on the government. Yes.
because what they're saying, and this is what, and every people are now saying in this chat here, that listen, when these people come, and Dr. Menace asked a question, and it's a very good question.
Yes.
They come to the Bahamas. Now they go to interview. What happened then? How long they here for while they in between their interview? Do you ask for them to be going right back, or are you going to allow them to stay? How are you going to verify that they didn't overstay? Where's the role of immigration going to be in this to make sure that they carry out, follow? too many questions, too many
Yeah, there's a
unanswered.
lot of unanswered questions. We have too many unanswered questions right now because the Prime Minister has never ever commented on these flights coming into the Bahamas 3 to 4 times a week for the Haitians. Where are they staying? What kind of money are they bringing here? What kind of help can they give the economy of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? We see a bunch of pregnant Haitian women in front of the flipping clinic. Huh? What are they there for? To do what? Where the heck they going? They could never be citizens, and their children can't be no citizens in this flipping country. So where they going? These are things that we are experiencing right now, and what the embassy is proposing to do, and hopefully we'll have, but I don't know what kind of reaction the government is going to give to it. But right now, there are things that are happening which they have not given us any clear-cut answers as far as the national interest and protection of this country is concerned. They've not done it. Where's the National Security Minister who's supposed to be protecting us? Huh?
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see how they respond to this. But right now, when I look at the hardcore evidence that I have in front of my face, they're not responding well at all. This is only going to complicate conditions in our own country. That's all that's going to do. And whether we're prepared to allow the Americans to cause more complication in the Bahamas, that remains to be seen.
But you know, Professor, and this is something that I've always told people over and over, the Americans going to look out for their interests. If you notice carefully what they say, look here, we ain't setting up shop in Port-au-Prince right now. We can set up shop right here, but if you want a visa, you go online, and then you come here. You ain't just, you ain't going from Haiti into the U.S. to get your visa. No. You go where we say you must come. Do it online. We will call you or send you an information that you come here. Now, when you come here, you do your interview. When you leave that building, it ain't their business. Someone just said this online that Jay Carey said, how is it that our very own government has not made a statement on what's happening in the Bahamas? Not one word. Our very own government is silent.
Very silent. Yes, that's correct.
And I was like, I figured the government.
So the Americans are telling them to come here. Who gave the Americans authority to tell them they could come here?
Well, the thing is this: the American embassy is an American country. That's their property. That is, we can't go into the American embassy and tell them what to do in that embassy.
But you have to cross over from us
to get into the U.S. embassy.
But then we could say, no, you can't come here.
Yeah.
I think we have a call on the
yes.
line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, Makaka.
Yeah, hey, how are you?
Let me call back. I think my radio feeding back to where we are.
Okay, then.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
No, but the thing is,
you're right, Professor, because here's another thing no one is paying attention
but
to.
they don't see these are the complications that the government of the Bahamas need to look at in order to protect the sovereignty of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Do we have an agreement with the former Haitian government to allow Haitians to travel into the Bahamas without a visa?
Good question.
And if that is not in place, you can apply to the U.S. Embassy all you want. If you do not have a visa to enter the Bahamas, then you wasted time because the U.S. Embassy is a different embassy. We have our own rules and policies and laws in our country. So if you come into my country to go to another
country
embassy,
you see how complicated this gets?
we have to now take it seriously. And I think
It has to be taken
the
seriously.
parliamentarians need to basically come clean about how are we going about this process
Yes.
and let us know what is going on.
No, we
Because
have to know.
This here, because now I felt it. We don't even know. So because I tell people that the other day, every time I look around at my neighborhood, I keep seeing new faces pop up.
Always, always. And they're flooding the family islands. Okay? I look in my own community where I live. I see a bunch of friggin' Asians. Huh? Don't speak a word of English. But they are right there in the community. And the governor of Bahamas just sitting there and not having any mass deportation of Haitians and other strangers and foreigners and aliens and outsiders out of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. This is very serious. And all I see now are a whole slew of other problems. We got enough problems as it is now, Bahamians. How many more crappy problems are we going to have added on our backs when you have a government in place that isn't doing anything to relieve us of all of these burdens that we are confronted with? That's the crux of the matter. We're not getting any relief. This is going to be very, very difficult for the Bahamian people to bear. Bahamians, the lines are open 326-0272-8130-271. Mr. Bruce, I got to get used to that new number. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
So tell the producer he got to turn y'all up.
Okay.
Coming in clear.
Okay.
Huh?
You're coming in clear.
He's coming in clear.
Yeah,
What is
okay.
it?
Listen.
Can you hear us now, caller?
Yeah, it is
Okay.
very good. It is excellent to keep the awareness going.
Okay.
Okay, but if you and a woman is married or going together for years, and you're having a lot of problems, and one day you or that lady decides, I ain't want nothing to do with you no more, and she leaves or he leaves, put their plans in that. Ain't nothing much we could do about that. And I say all of that to say this. It's good to make us keep us aware, but the man sitting in the top office doesn't tell us what his plans are.
Yes.
He didn't say that. He didn't tell his people. We've waited long enough, and just a little while longer, I can get you all where we need to be. So when we see these things going down and the man ain't saying nothing, that's his plan.
Well,
That is his plan.
well, caller, I would say this. I appreciate his plan, but we have one thing coming in this country that gives us Bahamians that real power, that vote. Now, I don't know if he believes that he has the sufficient votes. God help him. But
Or either that or God help us.
us, well, I think God can help us.
But they need God's divine intervention.
Because if he achieves, hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, go
If
ahead.
he
Make your point.
achieves where he wants to go, buddy, our battle has just begun. You see the embassy coming, and somebody had to agree for the embassy, like McCarter was to come and said they got to cross our line before they get to their line to
Yep.
the embassy. Somebody must agree for whatever the embassy is doing. Someone has to agree.
We need to see
So
these
we
agreements.
got to see the agreements on that one. Now, I'm going to, I heard what was said, and it's very concerning to me because what I see is a whole host of new problems added to the old ones where the government of the Bahamas does not even answer anything. We know the
No.
crap. We know the crap that he put out there talking about you are Haitian origin, but you're now Bahamians. We know that is utter nonsense and foolishness. We have to deal with that. The Bahamian people need to wake up and understand the kind of personality you have in the office of Prime Minister.
Article 24, but
Article
they ain't doing it.
24.
We ain't doing it.
Well, we'll see. Caller, thank you very much for your
Okay, ma'am.
contribution.
Oh, it's
Okay. Mr. Bruce, the tape's ready. Oh, we have another
Yes.
caller. Go ahead quickly, please. Go ahead.
Professor,
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
I am good, thank you. Listen, you remember when the Prime Minister said that he received a call from the President of the United States about taking in deportations from other countries, and
Okay.
he told him no. But you see, the Prime Minister, and we all know that Mr. Trump is a businessman, and he doesn't leave the table empty-handed.
Okay.
I'm sure he told him no, but what we would do is we would relax our deportation exercise among with the Haitians or any other immigrant, right? Because you see, they brag about sending home 15,000 in the last 4 years.
That's
When
nonsense.
the Dominican sent home 200-something thousand in 1 week.
In 1 week, yes.
And then we have another joker now who's the director of immigration, who's bragging about sending 40 back, then hundreds coming through the airport.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, they're not serious.
No, they're not serious.
They're not serious. And that, I think that is what the Prime Minister has failed to tell us, is that they have relaxed the immigration policy, but they won't accept any other immigrants from any other country. That's what I think they've done.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
he has sold us out. They have sold us out. You see, the other day they caught a boat with 70 Chinese.
Yes, they did. And what they
And
did
they
was
kept the Bahamian. They kept the Bahamian.
believe the Chinese
But they
right there.
send, and they caught them in American waters.
In American
But they
waters,
send
yes.
the Chinese back
Back
here.
here, yeah. See, that is the kind of behavior the Americans do. And we are not even protecting our own interests.
No. So It's the next government that we have to demand the transparency with everything that they do. You're not going to put no law in place unless the Bahamian people fully understand it, are aware of it.
But
Yes.
caller, I would say this to you, and I've been trying to explain this part about the U.S. Law to Bahamians, and a lot of them don't understand it. If you are caught in the U.S. violating their law, human trafficking is against the United States law. If you happen to be caught in the United States trafficking people, the U.S. will then take those people who you were trying to traffic, and they will deport them back to the country that they came from. Now, that boat captain will do time in the United States. Those persons that the Chinese they send back, they are now basically the problem of the Bahamas government.
But Mr. Cartwright, okay, you said they're deported to the country that they come from,
Yes.
right? But every deportation has a process. So why not take them into the U.S. and let them go through the deportation process
Madam,
and allow us that opportunity as to accept or not if they're not our citizens or if they are our citizens?
the one thing the U.S. does is that they apply their
Because they're
policies.
caught in American waters, in American territory.
No,
It's not international waters.
no. But the thing is, you notice that they were not charged. They were basically caught, like he was charged, basically going to be charged for human trafficking. That so-called, as they call it, cargo, they return it back to the point of origin. Now, if we was a government with any cojones would have said, hold on, they violated your policies, yes. They violated your laws, yes. We can't take them back until you done due process them. Once they do their time, I said, see, we
You
always,
answered it. They have no kahunas. That's it.
and so that's the problem. So now, here's the problem on top of that. The U.S. send these Chinese back, right? Now, we didn't hear our government said anything if these Chinese them were here illegally.
No.
Illegal.
No.
So now we got a group of Chinese that was trying to get into the United States who are now back in the Bahamas. We don't know if our government spoke with the Chinese embassy
yeah.
to find if these people came into the country illegal and say to them, listen, man, we got to prosecute these because they entered our country. We don't know what's going on in our country because our government is doing, to me, they're doing too many shady transactions.
Think about it. They weren't repatriated to New Providence. They were sent back to Grand Bahama.
And if that boat leave Grand Bahama, that's where they were going. That's where they can send them back. If the boat did leave Long Island, they're going to send them to Long Island. That's the way the Americans do business. But the problem is our government needs to stand up and say, hey, when people break our laws who are not citizens, the same way you would go after your own citizens, you're supposed to deal with non-citizens, because if you set an example with non-citizens, they would know, listen, this is a true country of laws.
Well, no, and you see, nobody wants to lose their U.S. visa, so we really don't have a government. We really don't have a government.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very
your
much, ma'am.
contribution. Thank you for your contribution. Mr. Bluesy, you have that tape already? Okay, all right, he's going to set it up.
Yeah, Professor.
No,
it
go
hurts
ahead,
us.
put a
It hurts us.
It hurts us, yeah, very much so.
Every time, and I just tell people over and over that we have these people in Parliament sit down and they make all of these gestures, and I always say to them, listen, man, the U.S. has their policies, they have their laws, they ain't bending that for you or nobody. Once you commit a crime, see what they're looking for, they could get a stronger conviction of you going to jail for human trafficking than those people smuggling themselves into the United States.
Yeah, we have a caller, Mr. Producer.
Yeah.
Oh, caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir, Professor. Mr. Cartwright.
Yes, my brother.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
Listen, man. I try to think about one word to describe this government. It's so difficult to come with a real, true adjective that to describe this government, because Bahamas is under siege based on the information that you reveal. We can't. We don't. I can't say we can't. We have made no effort in 52 plus years to make this country a better place in terms of doing business and everything else. Because what we have allowed to happen, and still happening now, is we have allowed nationals from all over the world, the Chinese, the Greeks, the Italians, Jamaican, you name it, we allow all of them to come to our shores with no form of regulation, none whatsoever. And to make matters worse, we have flights coming from Haiti 2-3 times a week, right? With no kind of regulation. What are we doing here? Who are we? These are some serious questions, man.
Very serious.
Now that the U.S. Embassy has put something out, well, we can't facilitate Haitians ain't coming to the Bahamas to go to the embassy to have an interview. And so what happens after the interview? They're here in the Bahamas? Are you serious about that?
We should not allow them to come here to do any interview.
Well,
Let the Americans go deal with that.
Professor, is that the government, successive government, have been duplicit
Yes.
in making sure that after Roca, we didn't have nobody who was interested in repatriation of illegal migrants.
Yeah.
Loftus Roca, God bless his soul, is the last person. Granville tried and he was removed, and everybody else has been a failure.
You know,
Okay.
caller,
And
I'll say this, caller. You know, we will see the Parliament of the Bahamas would pass trivial bills.
Very trivial.
But when it comes to your national security, all you have to do is stretch. And you know, it's amazing that when they talk, it's like, do we have things on the books? Yes. Well, why don't you do some amendments and strengthen it so it becomes more of a deterrent to people who come into our country?
Of course.
The former prime minister brought up a good point. You come for your interview. Okay. How long we can be, and we find from them, how many people you say that are prepared to come here for an interview? Okay. We can't allow that many people here. What we will do is we can only allow
One.
50 for
They ain't even allow 50.
50.
Just one.
Because if you go down that road and you basically monitor those 50, you now said, okay, you here for 2 days. How long it'll take you to interview 50 people? Okay, it'll take you 2-3 days. Okay, we cover that and we have our people waiting. Now, when you come out, you walk on the U.S. Embassy, you walk on that sidewalk. Yes, immigration, yeah, that's what we are. We need to see a document because we need to know that, okay, you done do the interview? Yes. Okay. When is your next interview? Well, they tell me come back next month. Okay. I think you need the next month means that you need to go home today. If not today, we will make sure you go home tomorrow and you come back when that is ready. But we need to have information. We need to have this stuff logged in so we know your whereabouts. Our immigration department has been basically handcuffed by those in high ups. And because by them being handcuffed, you're hiring these people to do their job to protect our sovereignty, but then you're basically handcuffing them from doing their job. See, because if you could allow people to come into my country to go to another embassy to do their business,
This is utter nonsense.
I need to now sit down with that embassy and say, listen, man, we gonna have to talk this up because guess what? If you telling me that these people and I can't do that, I can tell you what, they can need a visa to come to my country, and we ain't issuing out no visas.
That's right.
Now, if we ain't issuing out no visas, how they can come to the Bahamas to do the interview with the U.S. Embassy?
That's up to them.
We now have to sit down and negotiate on our benefit.
yeah, what I'm saying, sir, is that who's going to bear the cost of doing this? We are a nation, you know. We're not just by chance that's another state. We are a nation.
Yes.
We have the rights under the United Nations. We cannot allow no nation, including the United States. The Bahamas cannot be used and used that way.
No.
That's nonsense. Utter nonsense.
That is exactly what the U.S. is doing. They are
Then it
using the
must- then it
Bahamas.
must have happened.
They're
The
using
Bahamas-
the Bahamas for their own purpose.
The Bahamian people must demand that the government step to the forefront and deal with this matter expeditiously. This
Yes.
cannot
Yes.
happen.
Yeah, it's very serious.
It is egregious.
And Caller, here's
Thank you, my
another
brother.
thing. What if the U.S. don't grant those persons their visas after that interview? Be even sure to find out where these people going. Because once they leave the embassy, we don't have no paper trail to say, well, he left the embassy and returned to Haiti. All we know, he came to go
If
to the
you'd like to
embassy.
make a call, please hang up.
That's not good.
No,
And there has to be strict, rigid controls in place.
have to be, Professor. Has
Have
be.
to. Otherwise, you're just creating more chaos in the country.
And the fabric of this beautiful country, once it's like termites. If you don't have proper regulations in your immigration department, once people go underground, that's it.
That's it. Mr. Bruce, are we ready with that tape? Because I don't want to run.
Yes.
Okay. Begin, please.
Shortly after 10 this evening, police can confirm the fatal shooting of two males in the area of Johnson Alley off Wolf Road. When officers responded to shot spotter technology, they discovered two males in a residence with apparent gunshot wounds about the body. What we have learned thus far in our preliminary investigation is that the suspect males were masked, entered the residence, opened fire on the two victims, fatally wounding them. The victims, one is in his early 30s, the other is in his early 40s.
Are any of them known to police officers?
We are unable to say that, but what we can say is that one was electronically monitored for a serious offense.
Could you name the events?
I can't name the offense at this time.
Was anybody else home in the residence?
There were persons and no other persons were injured.
What are those persons doing? I mean, because it sounds like what? Are
It
you
was in a
witness to the incident?
residence. It was in the residence.
How are they? I mean, could you speak on their status? Are they shaken up?
I cannot speak on their exact status. However, what I can say is they were in the residence at the time. We are asking, as we have been asking the public to assist us in matters such as these, that if you have any information, no matter how small it is, to contact us at our regular numbers, 919, 911, or CID at 502-9991. You can also give us this information anonymously at Crime Tipsters at 328-8477.
You know something? I have no problem with the last part of what they said about people contacting them. This person was being electronically monitored. For what?
So that you're known to the police. Because the police would not put you in electronic monitor if they didn't know you.
But the
And-
woman says she don't know or don't want to say
Yes.
what he's being electronically monitored
monitored
for.
So it has to be a high crime
Jesus.
because petty robberies, small robberies don't put on ankle monitors.
She said the people were in this particular
House.
location or house.
Yes, it was in a residence in a home.
And they were shot to death in the house.
But if you listen carefully to Professor, she said that the persons were masked.
Yeah, they
Now,
were masked.
So
yes.
if they were masked, that there are people in the home who's witnessed this, but they don't know because they're the ones who told the police, yes, they weren't harmed.
They were not harmed, yes.
So those two individuals were marked for death. There's no other way you can put it. Because if someone walks, and think about this now, criminals walk into a building, into a home, pick out two people, or the house of people, they pick out two people, shot them multiple times about the body, kill them, and ain't touch nobody else and just go jump in a car and left.
It reminds me of an incident that happened in another location some years ago where the personalities went to this particular house and they had some other people in there, just as if they didn't even see them, but went looking for that particular personality, and that particular personality locked himself in the bathroom, and they broke down the door, destroyed that individual in the bathroom, and walked straight out. And the other people who were there, they witnessed everything, but they were not touched.
I would like to hear what the Minister of National Security has to say.
I think, Mr. Producer, if the producer has that tape, he'd like to hear it.
Yeah, I would love to hear what he has to say.
But like he can't solve no murders.
No.
He can't solve no crime.
No.
Jeez. Mr. Producer, you have that ready for us? Are you not?
Okay.
Did you say he's ready?
Oh, he's putting it together, but
Oh, he's putting
Wow.
it together. Oh,
okay, he's
you
ready
have it
now.
ready?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's hear the Minister.
Which is a part of my constituency. Last evening, there was a double homicide in Johnson Alley, which is a part of my constituency, in which one gentleman fitted with an electronic monitoring device was the victim of homicide, and another gentleman was also murdered. With an excess of 30 rounds discharged at that site. Firstly, I send out my condolences to the family of the deceased, and that goes without reservation. It does not matter whether you are accused of a crime or whether you are not. Families hurt when their loved ones are killed. That being said, having spoken to persons, this is yet another example that we have to be very careful in this country as to who we associate with and to become a part of the solution.
Is he finished? Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, I'm not going to disagree with him, what he said, that we have to be careful who we associate with. But the responsibility of the security and safety of the Bahamian people rests with the Ministry of National Security. Otherwise, you might as well not have any. Now, it is sad because see, the families would be mourning now for these two individuals. In fact, I wasn't even aware that two murders had occurred last night. Maybe I was sleeping at the time. And, it is sad. And like he said, it doesn't matter, whether the person was being electronically monitored or whatever incident they may have been involved in. But I would agree with the minister that we have to be careful who we associate with. That can be extremely difficult at some times. Because here's a situation that occurs where you could be caught in a situation. Unbeknown to you, you have people who have these ankle bracelets on them, but you don't know. And you're standing next to that particular personality in a public place. Somebody's looking for them. And these bullets don't have any eyes, Brother Cartwright.
No.
And you get hit, or a relative of yours get hit. I know of a particular personality who told me that particular personality saw something when they went to this particular eatery, and they just happened to bend down, and they ain't made for the food. They left and slide right out of there quickly because you don't know who you're standing next to. Minister of National Security.
Professor, what is very, very, very troublesome is
It's
that
scary.
I've seen in my community many young people walking around with these bracelets on, and they wear it as a badge of honor, which is sad. Because when they first introduced it, people used to be shameful.
Yeah, shameful, yes.
Now they're not afraid. But here's the thing. He said that you got to be careful who you associate with.
That's what he said.
But here it is that this individual got on a bracelet walking into a home whereby that apparently he has to know the other individual and those in that home.
Yes.
Because ain't no way you can take a stranger into your home.
Like that, yes.
And wearing a bracelet.
Jeez.
So whoever the culprits were who killed him and the other individual,
Yeah.
they know that he was going there, or they followed them and they made up their mind. Because, like he said, over 30 shots. That's
They
it.
said that's it.
That's it. That meant bark for death. That's all that's it. On the streets, in the community I come from, that's what we call mark for death. They intentionally know who they came to kill. They ain't came for nobody else, just them two.
Mr. Minister of National Security, we need protection.
Yeah.
I am scared. I mean, it frightened me. I just hearing this for the first time. I didn't know this had happened early in the night.
I don't go out after 5.
You see why a lot of people don't want to go out in the nighttime.
I don't go out.
Mr. Minister of National Security, we're going to need you to use your good office to give me some protection, to give Brother Cartwright some protection, to give my producer protection.
The rate is now 60 now. I was hoping we would stay.
But they were just bragging the other day about how they had a reduction compared to last year. All you have to do is add what happened last year to this year, and you get your total count.
We are now
So what is he talking
at
about?
60, and we have not reached. This is the beginning of September. We don't know what the end of September will look like.
Not with it going like this. It's very frightening.
Yes.
Bahamians, we're going to have to pray about this and ask for God's help. The government's going to need help too now. You may not like some things the government is doing, but man, when it comes to this kind of thing, you know, this is frightening to all of us. We need God's divine protection, Bahamians. But the government of the Bahamas has a national responsibility to protect the interests of Bahamian people. But Cartwright, let me let you get your last word.
I will say this, and I will elaborate more on it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It is high time now. The Parliament of the Bahamas. The fine. What is the worst of the worst?
The worst of the worst, yes.
We're kidding. We're playing around with it now. We need to now define what is the worst of the worst and put that to what we call capital punishment.
Yes.
And leave it as that. Let the people decide, because this year you ain't doing nothing but lip servicing, because the president told you those Englishmen don't believe in capital punishment, but they said you in the Bahamas,
what is the worst of the worst.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
That means us.
But the Cartwright, I got to stop with
Yes.
my producers
Tomorrow.
being very patient with me. Mr. Producer, thank you very much. This is Professor Sidney McGarr, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Bahamians, please pray for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We got serious problems, man. You see what the embassy is doing? Now you hear these 2 murders. Now you hear some other funny things happening. A lot of Haitians coming in here, a lot of strangers coming in here. Bahamians, we got too many problems, man. It is very serious. Please pray for the Commonwealth. We'll be back here tomorrow. I myself, Brother Cartwright. We'll have another special guest on with us tomorrow as well. This is Professor Sidney McGarr, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Have a pleasant afternoon.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions